Yeah, whenever ready.
I'm good. All right. Connor, look at the screen, man. Come on.
You don't need me to look at the screen right now. Just do your intro.
Well, that's a great intro as any. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Designated Players Podcast. This is episode 27, if I remember correctly. We took kind of a week off. It was we tried to force our schedule in last week to try and get previews and predictions of games, and it kind of put us out of schedule. So I believe we're still on episode 27. And that's close to the number of teams that we started with. We started with 26 teams in this tournament. 2 got taken away. We are now down to the final 4. We've got 3 teams that actually make a little bit of sense, and Orlando City. We've got a lot coming for you guys today, including recaps of the 4 quarterfinal matches, preview of 2 semifinals, and a little bit of conversation outside of those. Just kind of what went wrong for some of these teams that got knocked out. See what we can find and see if they'll make those changes going on. But before we go into that, we'll do Scarf of the Week for 2 of us. We all know Connor's still rocking his other one. So, Adam, you got the new one. So what do you got?
Not a new one, but I've worn this one before.
Yeah.
Since my Orlando one is down in Florida still at my parents', and I don't own a Philly or LAFC one yet, I've got the Portland Timbers.
Have you worn that before? That looks nice. I don't remember seeing it.
Definitely have.
Oh, it's nice. I like it.
Thank you.
I'm breaking out the first scarf I ever got. Same one that I've had for a little bit. Mainly because this has gone on so long and nothing makes sense. And I want to remember times that made sense because somehow we are living in a world where Orlando City has a 25% chance of being a team that represents us in the CONCACAF Champions League. That is wild. That is terrifying. I don't even know what to think about that, for the fact that a team that hasn't made playoffs in 8 years of existence might be our first official 2021 CONCACAF Champions League representative. Thoughts on that, lads?
I was wondering about this earlier. So I know winner of this gets CONCACAF Champions League. Are they taking the spot away from like the team that was going to win maybe U.S. Open Cup?
That's
or
what
is
it
this
is. Yep.
Okay.
So U.S. Open Cup is gone. I don't believe they're even going to have U.S. Open Cup this year because a lot of the lower leagues aren't even playing their own seasons. So I think Open Cup is done for 2021 or 2020 into 2021, and this is taking its spot.
Gotcha.
That is what I believe was put together.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I know a bunch of people on TV have said like, oh, the Orlando fans deserve this after 7, 8 years of not making the playoffs. They finally deserve to see their team have some success, but that's not the way this works. Just because your team suffers doesn't mean you're entitled to then have success. Some teams just suffer forever. There hasn't been a whole lot of signs of progression in the first almost decade of Orlando. I mean, we think back to that original team, the first day they played NYC, and those 2 teams were abysmal. Like we can talk about bad expansion teams. I mean, Miami's 0-5, but I struggle to remember 2 teams that looked that bad to start.
Go ahead.
I was going to say NYC at least, I guess, attempted to continuously improve. They brought in the Frank Lampards, the Andrea Pirlo's. Whether they worked or not, obviously, is a whole nother point. But you could see there was a plan in place, and now they have players like a Maxi or a Bear, and the players that you will look to drive them forward. For the first 5 years of Orlando's existence, they had Kaká for a little bit. That was kind of it. Had Dom Dwyer for a little. Yeah.
The one thing I think that you brought up that was really good was the fact that just because you were bad doesn't mean you get to be good, right? And the progression behind that, right? So I think, to be fair, I think they are now finally moving in the right direction.
Right.
But that doesn't mean automatically, they made a good signing. Send them right over to CCL. That's not how that works. I'm happy for them. I am happy that they are finally getting in the right direction after years of not going in the right direction. But, I mean, that doesn't mean they just automatically jump into just greatness after that, right?
Right. No, I agree. I mean, if they go on to win this, like good for Orlando. But and it's good to see teams improving. Obviously, we want this league to grow. We want MLS to be a better league every year. So you want to see the Orlando's, however badly they may look when they first start. You want to see the league kind of grow like that. But you think about, and this isn't me bashing them. They're just the team that's probably the worst in the league right now. But if you look at the Cincinnati's or the whoever's that's down at the bottom, like it could take them 8 years before they get to this spot, and you kind of just got to deal with it. And that's banking on the fact that they get there at all. Cincinnati could go 20 years without making the playoffs. Like that's sports. That's the thing that can happen. Like Liverpool went 30 years without a title after I don't know how many in a row.
And Red Bull are going to go 37 before they disband and never win an MLS Cup. We get it. Like, that's how it works, right?
You said it, not me.
And I'm not going to try and hide that. I'm completely ready for that.
Will you build a statue of Chris Armas when he inevitably wins the first MLS Cup for Red Bull?
Not before BWP gets one. But we know
just you. We can put it.
Well, so we'll have BWP heel clicking, Robles yelling at somebody, and Chris Armas standing there trying to figure out what to say.
Yeah, I was thinking the BWP and the Robles ones can go outside Red Bull Arena, but I just want a Chris Armas statue like in your living room, like next to your bed.
If Chris Armas delivers us an MLS Cup, I will go out.
You have to choose your words very carefully.
Well, I'm trying to think of what I want to buy because I'll do it. Like we have the Alex Muyl bet, we still do, right?
Frame whatever year jersey that is with Armas on the back and the year.
On Armas, your year in the number.
Yeah. So if they win next year, get Armas 21 and frame it.
And I'll track him down and have him sign it. That's fine by me, man. Any coach who brings it to us.
Bet.
But imagine, right? I'll have actually it'll be right behind me on this wall here. I'll have Armas 21. And Muyl with like a goat symbol underneath him because he's going to score the game winner, and that's just how it's going to be. It's going to be so good. I can't wait.
In this alternate reality, can I have like $10 million?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you want,
right. I'm down.
He wants 10 million so he can make his dream team in real life.
Chelsea's already doing that, dude.
I think stop. I think Adam's meme team, Ali Adnan, he would just give all 10 million because he'd be so happy to get him, and then he'd have no more money for anybody else.
I would put $10 million into cloning, and I would make 11 Ali Adnans, and we'd have a full team.
All right, we're not getting carried away with this anymore. Vancouver are out. SKC are out, but Philly are not. Because Philly beat SKC. Connor, talk to me. Give me a quick recap about how Philly versus SKC went.
It was a great game in the first half. Let me tell you. One thing I noted before the game even started, I said Brandon Aronson is gone, off to Europe with you, and good for him. I hope he blossoms over there like McKinney and Adams have. But that was my pregame thoughts. You'll see as I go through my notes where I start to feel on him, as the game progresses. But one thing I mentioned early on was Johnny Russell looked pretty dangerous early for SKC. He was making some good plays, putting some good pressure on the Philly defense and taking pressure off his own defense. And then Philly get their first goal. And I thought it was fantastic hold-up play by Santos on the first goal to keep the defender away, keep possession of the ball, and then he played a good ball in behind where Bedoya is just streaking in. He's not picked up at all by the defense, so he just runs right in, completely uncovered, draws Melia out towards him, and then squares it across the box for Montero to score probably one of the easiest goals he ever will in his career. But it was a great start for Philly. One thing I also noted, I said before when talking about Philly that Martinez needs to be careful in the knockout stages about discipline actions and just in regard to discipline. And he picked up an early yellow. And I believe they said it was his 4th yellow in 5 games. So he's really starting to push the line on getting sent off or suspended. So he's got to be careful on that.
The only good thing is they don't carry over.
Right. But yeah, he's pushing the line. Right now he's doing a good job of not breaking it. So if he can continue to do that, then he'll be fine. And then Philly scores a second goal pretty quickly after they scored the first. Not Minnesota quickly, but pretty quickly. Another counterattack off of an SKC corner. And I feel like they really exposed one of the weaknesses of SKC, which is speed in the back line. And if you're going to be slow in the back line, then you got to sit further back so that you got to sit further back defensively on corners so that you don't get caught in the counter like that. And then on the Philly side of things for that goal, Santos showed some good pace and a really calm finish to chip the goalkeeper. So for both of his first two goals for Philly, he showed good strength and he showed good pace. So he's really showing that he's a very good all-around attacking player for them. And one thing that I also thought was overlooked, and I saw this on the Philly subreddit, was Aronson's speed on that goal. He wasn't involved at all, but he was flying up there. He showed some good speed. And I didn't think that was a part of his game, honestly. So then I said that then we get to the third goal where I started to really ship that Aronson is gone because he's a really good player. I would say he's one of, if not the best youngster in the league. And the third goal proved that easily. He did great. He had great movement to give himself some space and then played an absolutely perfect ball to Santos, who puts it away easily, makes it 3-0, absolutely crushing SKC. One thing also to note, this was also off of an SKC corner. So another situation where SKC kind of not doing so well coming back, defending. And then right before halftime, Polito snags one as Russell plays a great cross across the box. Polito finds some space against the right side of the Philly defense, which is a little bit asleep there. He gets one back, and maybe SKC still have hope for the second half. But that wasn't really the case. They were definitely the better team. They were attacking more, had their chances, had a free kick from Polito that hit the bar. And Andre Blake had a ridiculously good save against Polito when Johnny Russell kind of danced through the entire defense in the box, played it across. Andre Blake continues to show that he's the best goalkeeper in this tournament, and I think that's by a long shot. And I feel like Philly definitely deserved this win. I thought the attack was quick and sharp. Blake, as I said, continued to perform. And then SKC, they had a decent run in the tournament, but you've seen moments where they can really be a good team, and then you've seen moments where they've fallen flat, like this game. So kind of got to work on the consistency part of their game.
So let me ask you, Philadelphia go on, win this whole thing. Matt Doyle says Andre Blake is the MVP of this tournament. After watching this game, do you agree?
It's hard because I feel like most of the time you don't give MVP type awards to defenders or goalkeepers.
Disrespectful, but okay.
Am I wrong? When was the last time a defender or goalkeeper won Ballon d'Or or MLS MVP?
Nobody gave me
2006, Fabio Cannavaro won it.
Yeah, so that was 14 years ago.
Yeah, but that's also when the whole thing started becoming a popularity contest. So.
Yeah, well.
I mean, in fairness, Messi's been the best player in the world for a decade.
I'm not gonna. If Philly wins this whole thing and they gave it to Blake, I would have zero problem with it. I don't have a problem with it. I think he's been a huge difference maker for them. I just don't think that they realistically would, but who knows?
Interesting. I am sad to see SKC go, simply because Adam's Gianluca Busio hype train is now derailed, along with the Alan Polito hype train. Both separate trains, by the way. They're not on the same train. He's conducting two trains at the exact same time in the exact same area, but they're not on the same train.
I should look into that.
You really should. Logistically, it just doesn't make any sense, does it? But like I said, they did put up a good run. But this is they showed flashes of SKC of the future and what they were last year, where they just fall asleep and get picked apart by a Philly team that up to this point has not been really that great, right? They've gotten their results, have gotten to where they needed to be. They have not been, by any stretch of the imagination, world beaters. Good.
That was one thing. One thing I noticed about their roster, kind of like you said, it almost seems like there's just a complete divide of like guys that are very young and have a lot of potential and are just getting their feet wet, and then guys that are very much older and are like winding down their career. So it's just been like it's like an extreme of either one or the other, and it's probably not super easy to mesh the two together.
It's very there's lots of shades of Red Bull 2015 when they started making the change from, or I won't say 2015, I'll say like 2016. They started making the change from our top guys to our young guys, and yet guys like Sean Davis and Tyler Adams weren't at that level yet, but were almost there. And you have moments of brilliance. You also have moments of just getting picked apart. So it'll be interesting to see where Vermes goes from here. I think they're still a playoff team in the long run. Right now, they're top of the West. Will they finish there? Will they be top of Supporter Shield? I don't know. But I think they're still in – they're very, very comfortably in the playoff
hunt. I know it didn't go in. I know it hit the bar. But I think if that Polito free kick goes in, that's the goal of the tournament. Just putting it out there. At least for me. Just because, 30 yards out. And if you watch the replay from behind him, the way that thing's moving in the air, if that had gone like top corner like it almost did, it easily would have been.
I have no disagreements there. It was a good hit, but almost only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and I don't know, lasers.
Alfred diplomas.
Lasers. This guy over here graduated from Ithaca and he's a tough guy. But, I'll let him go and try and defend Orlando versus LAFC and explain the fact that an LAFC team with the greatest striker in MLS history gets knocked out by an Orlando team that is Orlando. Go ahead.
I mean, in fairness, Bradley scored this game.
There's a reason he's the best, right?
He's got 4 or 5 goals this tournament. So, for a team that came to Orlando without Carlos Vela, the front three stepped up so far. Oh, up to that point. But it was one of those games where it's because it's LAFC, you know how dangerous they are. Orlando, despite having more possession, were kind of sitting back, letting LA kind of do their thing, but you just felt that Orlando was going to get something out of it. I think they outshot them something stupid like 17-7 or something, like some lopsided like that. But just because it was LAFC, you're like, I wouldn't be surprised if they go on to score again. But I was pretty impressed with Galese. I gotta say, he wasn't tested majorly. Like, the efforts that LAFC had on target were fairly calm. But I was impressed with how he conducted himself. He seemed to be always, trying to direct traffic and yell at people to get into position. Obviously coming up huge in the penalties. But we need to do some sort of investigation. I don't know what kind of voodoo magic Orlando has cast on this tournament to get them into the semifinals and keep them undefeated up to this point, but someone needs to look into that. Because you just feel like they have that team spirit, momentum, energy, whatever you want to call it, to go on and win this whole thing. Just, they have the home field advantage. It's at this point, it's 2 games and you win. Like there's no reason they can't go on to win this, which is a scary thought. But I mean, the biggest highlight other than the 2 goals was probably the PK save from Nani. It It was a decent PK. I kind of expected Nani to do a little bit better, but Vermeer it was perfect height, perfect dive, predicted the right way, ridiculous save. The 2 goals that were scored, so Bradley Wright Phillips opened the scoring up. Rossi cutting across, cutting it back, Bradley getting in front of his defenders as he loves to do at the near post and just smashing it top net. And then heel clicking away to victory. But then Orlando just, kept knocking, kept up the pressure. And then 93rd minute, off a great corner, straight header into the goal. 1-1, take it to PKs where they, managed to do the business. So
I see a lot of people talking about Jordan Harvey, both in penalties and both on that Orlando goal. Talk to me about Jordan Harvey's mistakes. What did he do wrong? Because I didn't watch the game. I was out with a few buddies of mine. I didn't get a chance to see the game.
I'd have to see on the corner. I don't know if that was his man that got free. I'd have to go back and watch it again. Mm-hmm. It was just a good corner. Like, those things happen. The PK was abysmal. I'm sorry, you're a professional footballer. I don't think center back should take penalties.
Well, he's an outside back, so he doesn't take.
Still, defenders, from what I've seen, aren't often good penalty takers.
Go tell that to Sergio Ramos, man.
I was going to say, there are exceptions. Sergio Ramos also plays striker half the time. So David Luiz is maybe one of them, taking one in Champions League final. But from what I've seen, your attackers are the ones that obviously are more inclined to take penalties. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Diego Rossi. Had never taken a penalty before in his professional career. How does that happen?
Wild.
That you made it as far as in the position that he has, scoring as many goals as he has, and you've never taken a penalty in a game before. So Jordan Harvey, in fairness, I think was trying to kick field goals because he, if he hits a field goal, they're up 3-1 and, Orlando can't come back. So just smashes it over the bar. It was a bad penalty. Like I don't get annoyed by a whole lot of things, but as a professional soccer player, you should be able to hit the target from 6 yards out. I'm not saying score, make the goalie work for it. That's why the goalie's there, to save it. Hit the frame.
Penalties are also taken from 12 yards, not 6, but that's okay.
I don't think he would have hit it from 6 yards. I realized it when I said it was 12 yards.
We have some fun.
I don't think he was scoring from 6 yards, so it didn't matter.
Orlando have what I describe as Comac High School 2015 state champion energy.
Don't do that.
I'm going to. Why? Because it's quite clear, and we've had this conversation before. The team that I won the state championship with was not the best team Comac has ever put out. We were a bunch of kids who all played together on very good teams with very good players from other towns. So we all had to come together and work together. Comac has had better teams before. Comac has had more talented players before. But we all came together and we all had this energy, this vibe to push through and beat teams that, quite frankly, we probably should not have been beating. We all came together. We were all very good, but we had players who were not at the level of being, the best of the best, right? And we ended up putting it all together and moving through a tournament that realistically we probably should have been knocked out in the first round of the state semis, right? But we went through and it's all about your heart, right? It's all about what you put onto the game. That's what Orlando's doing right now. Pereira's got to move in a good direction.
Yeah, and it helps when people stay healthy.
Yeah, when your outside back doesn't go down and mess up his knee,
our outside back played in that game.
He tried. The starter tried.
I didn't play outside back.
You're still a midfielder at that point? I thought you were an outside back.
No.
Well, we'll get off topic and talk about that at another time.
New York City. Wait, hold on.
Connor needs to talk.
I wanted to add a couple things. One, I just looked back at the goal, the Orlando goal, and I do believe it was Jordan Harvey who was supposed to be marking Martinho.
Fair.
So, and he kind of just, they played the corner in. Martinho started breaking in towards the goal, and Harvey kind of reacted late.
Mm-hmm.
So he was pretty open for the header.
I saw something come up on LAFC's Reddit, like Jordan Harvey super flat-footed. I didn't get a chance to look at it. That's why I was asking.
Yeah,
it happens.
He was definitely flat-footed. He was slow to react, and
yeah, I wouldn't say like Jordan Harvey, that's 100% your fault. What the hell were you doing? Like, it happens.
Yeah, but
it was good.
gotta have. I mean, it's like the last couple minutes of the game.
Yeah,
You can't be switched off at that point. If I'm a coach, I'm losing my mind. But
but from an Orlando point of view, like it's a good corner.
Right.
No disagreements there, but that you can still defend that better.
Sure.
I had one other thing. During PKs, maybe Adam will remember this. I think it was Orlando's second to last PK, and it was, I believe, Carlos who took it, and he hit it and Vermeer got his hands on it, but couldn't keep it out.
Oh, yeah. I texted Andrew when that happened.
He did. I watched it back. It broke my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad.
Rule number one: you get two hands on a penalty, it stays out. That's how it is.
Channeling his inner Kepa.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Brutal.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that was no bueno.
I mean, that could have saved the game.
Yeah.
Probably would have. But we can talk about bad goalkeepers at another time, which actually maybe we should do that. We'll give the what do we call it? The bronze glove then?
Yeah.
No, not the bronze. What's a really bad earth metal? Antimony.
Aluminum.
The antimony glove.
Aluminum glove.
Aluminum. I like that.
We can call it the mercury glove because mercury is toxic in large amounts, and it's also a metal, but it's also liquid, like liquid gloves, liquid
the
metal.
Tinfoil gloves.
Right through.
Yeah.
We can talk about tin, but tin's also useful.
I also think it may have been Brian Rodriguez that I was thinking of that had never taken a penalty, not Diego Rossi.
Gotcha.
Even still.
All right. Nerd talk aside, let's move on to New York City, Portland, because I can talk about medals all day. New York City. One of us. Oh, man, it's great being a nerd, let me tell you. Anyways, New York City versus Portland. I put out a tweet from the podcast account that said basically it was very MLS of NYC to start playing well right when they needed to be good. And they made it this far just by getting hot at the right time, and that is the MLS way, right? You don't need to be good to make it past the group stage or the playoffs. You just need to win the right games at the right time. But their luck ran out today, right? So they opened the scoring with a really soft penalty that Castellanos took a very, very clear dive, which if people don't realize that he's a softie when it comes into the box or around the side, they got to start looking at things because he's also a little instigator. He's just a little – I don't know who I can even compare him to because, like, it's not like he comes back and does things really like – I was thinking Gattuso where Gattuso will get really up into you, but Gattuso doesn't back down from anything. Castellano, like, you go anywhere near him, he just falls to the ground. I'll never forget, I was watching them versus Philly with Matt, and, I mean, they gave 2 penalties with VAR where he clearly wasn't touched within a foot. Like, he jumped over the tackle and just, like, falls to the ground, and they gave 2 penalties for it. And to that day, I always watch whenever he's playing how easily he goes down, and, you know, he's just awful at that type of stuff, and it really makes me upset. He did it again in the second half when they were down 3-1. A ball gets floated in. I think it was I don't remember. It might have been Valentin who comes in behind him to mark him. The second he touches his back, he jumps up and flops like this. And it's like the referee just waves him on. Like, at that point, you better go back and at least give him a yellow because it's getting ridiculous now that he's clearly just taken, you know, into it. But anyways, that's for another day. I'm very upset with the way that he plays, but it is what it is, right? Ref buys it, gives the PK, and it's converted. And then my player of the game, Sebastian Blanco, goes in and runs through the New York City midfield, lays it off to, I think it was Valentin again, who squares it back, takes a touch up in the air and just curls it with his right foot, his weak foot, all into that far corner. Really nice goal to go in level just at halftime. And then you got super sub Valeri, which who was? I think it was Doyle who put out something like, if Valeri takes on the Ilsinho role and is just playing super sub, Portland will win MLS Cup because they'll be able to be really good in the first half. And then second half, they're just going to bring on the best league MVP at one point, come in and just tear up the game with who's still fit. You watched him play when he came on. Oh, man, he looked really, really good. Like, he wasn't hobbling or slow or anything. He was quick. But he gets in there, he combines with Niazgoda and put Portland ahead. I really like Niazgoda's play, too. I noticed he's a lot faster than I thought he'd be. He's really quick getting those loose balls, and he's got good feet. And, again, I haven't seen a lot of him outside of the league, and I really haven't seen a lot of him in the league. But I was really impressed with the way he played. I'm excited to watch him go on. And then Andy Polo's screamer. What an absolute finish by this guy. Cuts in. He's got 3 players open on the far post. He looks him off. He says, Diego Valeri, how many goals do you have in this league? Doesn't matter. Hits that thing top right corner. It is going to finish second in goal of the – no, it won't. Atlanta didn't score a goal this tournament. They're not going to get some cheap goal of the tournament award because they can't vote on it. Let's go. So that's goal of the tournament for me. That thing was a screamer. Absolutely loved it. And he won't lose out to a tap-in by Adam Yan on the 3-yard line because we all know that's probably what would happen.
You forget that I almost said Brendan Aronson. Emerson Hyndman scored a ridiculous volley. That's goal of the week.
Oh,
no, it doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter that it wasn't in the tournament. That's goal of the tournament, Andrew.
He was offside anyway, but it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. And that's 3-1. NYC get bounced, and the world is a happier place for it. What NYC are missing to me is just the finishing touch. Hebert hasn't had it since the tournament started, right? Castellanos doesn't have it either because he's too busy falling to the ground every time somebody comes near him. Medina, who is the second worst DP signing in history behind Frank Lampard, has never had it. Just waiting for some reactions, but they're not even entertaining me anymore.
No, that's
wrong. Medina's just been a really bad DP, and he was their best attacking player this tournament. I mean, and then you get Matrice on the wing, who only really combines well with Hebert. I think anytime Hebert isn't playing, he's non-existent. So that's where Dyla needs to find the right answer. Excuse me. Torrent was really good at making that combination work. Not having Maxey, definitely a big role in that, right? Not having your best playmaker who had 20 assists last year is not great. I think Gary Mackay-Stevens was pretty good. Needs more time to gel. But clearly the attacking talent is there, right? And I mentioned that during the game. I go, NYC don't have the last pass or the last shot, but their build-up getting there is very, very good. They're getting there. And then you've got people who are screaming for Ronnie Dyla to be out. And here's what I'm going to tell all the NYC supporters, however many of you are left who haven't boycotted because of the stadium situation. Take a breath. Relax. I got a Twitter conversation yesterday where somebody who said he's lost 6 games in the first 10. Here's what those 6 losses were. First game to Columbus, when you went down a man, I think like 7 minutes into the game, maybe even earlier than that. Toronto with a backup center back. Tigres, which is one of the best teams in CONCACAF with an unlimited budget. It seems like just continue to sign players. 2 games after a pandemic without your best playmaker. And then Portland today without your best playmaker for half the game. Breathe. It is going to be okay. They're going to put it together. You saw the attack was getting together really good. What you need to worry about is your back line depth. Your starting 11 is okay, but they're going to make mistakes, and you're going to have players who aren't playing well, right? You need somebody who you can rotate in there when they're not playing well. Amro Tarek for RBNY is a great example, right? He came in as a backup center back. Tim Parker started falling short. He cycled in. Granted, he hasn't had the best tournament either. But when he played during the season and when he played last year, he was a good third-choice center back. And that's all they need right now is because, what is it? They've got Cayens, they've got Chanot, And then they've got Ibeaga, who I think is hurt now. So they've got really James Sands, which ruins your midfield because now you're having Alex Ring just run around and do everything you want, right? You need more depth there. You can go assign as many attacking players as you want, but that's not your issue. Your issue is that defensive midfield line if Sands and Ring are not working together, or that back line, because Matarrita is not my favorite outside back. He reminds me of Murillo, who's decent going forward but has no desire to go back. Tinnerholm is good. I think Tinnerholm's probably your best defender both sides of the ball. Cayennes is solid. Chanot, I'm still not super sold on. I really haven't been. He's been good, not great. If I am an NYC supporter, which I clearly am not, I am more worried about my backline depth and the fact that all my home games are going to be played in New Jersey this year versus the fact that I'm currently a 400 record with the weirdest football climate in the history of football. But that's just me. I think they need to take a breath. Everything's going to be okay. And just get out of Florida and start getting comfortable in New Jersey. That's all I got.
Fair.
Anybody else have anything to add on that, or did I hit all the check marks?
No, pretty obvious. I mean, their backline's been an issue for however long now. Like, we make fun of them that they have 17 defensive midfielders on their roster. You know, their midfield's not the issue, and I think their striking options are decent enough to get them where they want. Like, Castellanos is probably my favorite player on that team.
Are you kidding? Get out of here.
I just want to see if you'd react.
I hate you.
No, but Miami picking up Ben Sweat, I think, was a huge shock because of how good he was for them last year.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. I mean, they're slowly, I think, putting the pieces together. It's just going to be how quickly can they get those pieces without losing some of the other ones.
Right, and this is
so if they bring in a back but they lose Maxey, let's say, like, that's, you know, a step forward and 2 steps back.
Right. It's MLS. You cannot judge anybody by a 10-game stretch.
True.
Unless you've seen it happen time and time again, which and we can go back to the Frank de Boer argument. I think that was too soon for that as well. But stop calling for the head of a guy who stepped into the role for 10 games and then stepped in the role for 4 games, really, and then had to stop and then reassess the entire team with injuries and all that other stuff going into a different tournament style. Relax, calm down, take a breath. I'm very interested to see who wants to converse on that. As we wait for that conversation, Connor, tell me about the San Jose versus Minnesota game up the Loons.
This was it was a fun game for anybody that's not a San Jose fan. And the first goal for Minnesota, I will say, I don't think it was on Vega.
No, nothing.
It was a good job of Minnesota using a second chance off the corner. And well done by Lillard to follow the header in and find himself free for easy tap in. Yeah, they need to not lose focus there and make sure that they continue to follow their markers until they either gain possession off of defending the corner or truly clear the ball away. And then before you could even gather yourself up again after the first Minnesota goal, Minnesota scores a second goal. And this one was definitely on Vega, 100%. It was just an awful rebound that he coughed up right in the middle of the box. And then after he coughed it up, all his defenders were frozen and the Minnesota players were not. They were all ready to pounce. And they did. Put it away, 2-0. One of the easiest goals Minnesota's going to score.
They were frozen because he shouldn't have given up the rebound in the first place. I get it was through traffic, but at that point, don't put it back where it came from. Don't put it right in the middle of the box. Put it wide or hold it because you could have helped.
Right. And I don't blame the defenders for being frozen, but
I mean, I kind of do, right? But
they were.
But if you go on, we'll deal with that in a second.
Yeah, the San Jose defense was getting pretty exposed at the back in the first half, and I wouldn't even say Minnesota was playing like otherworldly, crazy good. I mean, they were definitely playing well, but they weren't playing like the best we've ever seen a team play. I just think that San Jose made or they forced San Jose into mistakes and made them look sloppy, and then they converted on the chances. I thought the San Jose attack looked dangerous at times, but they never really got that final opportunity to put the dangerous runs to use. And then after Minnesota scored the 2 goals in the first half, I felt like San Jose was the better team for the rest of the half. And maybe that was just Minnesota kind of taking their foot off the gas and just, all right, we have a 2-0 lead. Let's just see it out till halftime and then take it from there. One thing I also noted was I loved seeing Gregush and Alonso playing together because it allowed Gregush to have the freedom to go forward more in the game. And I feel like he could be a very useful asset attacking wise. And knowing that he has Alonso to stay back and do the things defensively in the midfield, he has that freedom to go forward. And he doesn't have to worry about, oh, if I get caught forward and they counter, I may not get back in time. So I really like the two of them in the midfield together for Minnesota. And one other thing that I noted from the first half is you definitely don't need possession to win because San Jose had more of the possession, but Minnesota would attack very quickly, and it made San Jose's defense just trip over their own feet and taking advantage of their chances. Obviously you're not going to need the possession. I thought Dotson and Hayes looked awesome for Minnesota in the first half. And every time one of them had the ball, it looked threatening, and I really felt like there was going to be some pressure on the San Jose defense. And then as shaky as things were for San Jose in the first half, very early on in the second half, they were right back into the game as they got a penalty off a handball against Hayes. And it's 2-1. As bad as the game was going, you got a little bit of luck your way. You're right back in the game. It's only 1 goal. And we've seen in this tournament, anything can happen. But then Amaria just ends it. He gets the ball, goes down the wing. Defender forces him out wide, forces a narrow space where he can score, and Vega doesn't cover it very well, and he puts it away, makes it 3-1.
Vega covered fine. It went through him. Straight up.
All right, well, then he should have done better.
He absolutely should have done better. I'm sorry, my Daniel Vega hatred's coming out. Please continue.
No, you're just in that. You're just in that. He had a bad game.
I'm Andrew, not Justin.
No, I'm saying you're just.
Here's the joke.
Yeah. Oh, your joke was bad.
Oh, got me.
Yeah. As bad as Daniel Vega in goal.
There you go. All right.
There it is. All right, back on track.
Full circle.
Fourth goal for Minnesota. Same thing as the first. It was another second chance on a corner that led to Minnesota scoring. So San Jose continues to try to clear the ball off the corner. They never really fully clear it, and then they get beat and scored on. So Minnesota definitely deserved the win in that game. They were the better team. They were great. Honestly, this Minnesota team is so good, in my opinion. And I think if they add a little bit more defensive depth and maybe a designated player playmaker, I think they could be fighting for MLS Cup and Supporter Shield every single year. I just think that they have such a good roster, and everything's starting to click for them, and it's honestly, it's good to see.
I think that's exactly the type of world we all want to live in, right? A world where Minnesota are winning MLS Cups and Supporter Shields is a world that I would love to live in. And I think that's
when CONCACAF Champions Leagues while we're in there too.
I mean, if you want.
I do. Not the first one. We can save that for Atlanta. And then San Jose, they had a great tournament. Obviously, they were an underdog coming into this. Nobody really thought they were going to do much. And then they proved everybody wrong. I think that they have a lot to look forward to. They have a lot of young players to watch, like Espinosa, Thompson, Lima, Yuo. And they can grow and get even better. And they also have a great coach as well. I think all they need to do is just open the checkbook every once in a while and sign some good designated players, complete the team, and then this team could be very exciting and dangerous. But
we know a free agent that's I said we know a free agent that's looking for a team and knows that San Jose team pretty well.
Somebody give him a call. Give him a call.
Quincy, we're trying, man. If you're listening.
Designated player Quincy.
I'm down.
One of these days, we'll get him back out there.
Yep.
It will be interesting to see how this Final Four shapes out. Before we preview our games, let's do a little bit of recap on our predictions from last week. We didn't have video proof of it, but we did tweet it out before every game. And once again, we're awful. We genuinely watch this league every time a game comes on. We swear. Like, we are not just picking based off of jersey colors, I swear. We'll go bottom to top here. Out of 4 games, Connor pulled up a whopping 0 points, did not pick the correct result of any game. But none of us were much better. I had 1 point because I put Minnesota through. Adam picked 2 points because, as a joke, I'm almost certain he put Orlando through. There's no way he genuinely thought LAFC was going to lose that game. But he did. And Portland –
I got spot on.
You got Portland spot on. I'm sorry. I messed that up. Portland. So Adam finishes with 3 points. And for the second time in 2 weeks, Adam tops our prediction group. To update the final standings as per the year, he's still nowhere close. Let's be real. We are
slowly but surely.
Slowly but surely. I believe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. All right, cool. So we have all the results, I think. I am up by 2 on Connor with 40 points. Connor has 38. Adam has 32. So he is making his way back.
Progress. I was down like 20 last week.
Yes, you were. E49. Let me just double check that B49 is in the totals. It is not.
Getting cheated out of
just
points
kidding.
right now.
Just kidding. I did all those mathematical calculations in my head. So yes, 40, 38, and 32. Your boy is still on top. Connor a close second. Adam bringing it up, but coming very close. And we will not have any breaks coming up very soon because the league is going to start up right pretty soon as this tournament is over.
Hopefully.
Maybe they'll start.
Hopefully. Very fair.
Yeah.
Very fair.
The idea.
For the next, we're going to preview the next 2 games. That's all we got left. But let's do our predictions at the end of everyone for each game, so we don't have to have a separate prediction section. I'm going to send it to Adam to talk to me about Philly versus Orlando. Something like that, right? Or Portland, Orlando. Which one did you want to do that didn't exist?
I want to do both.
We were starting to figure out who wanted to do what, and Adam said he wanted to take Portland versus Orlando. So he picked game E of this tournament.
All of the above.
We told him he's going to look at Portland versus Philly instead. Go ahead.
So I've spoken. Who am I doing? Philly and Portland? Kidding.
How did Philly and Portland get here?
We don't know. No, we do. But Philly, so both teams have been undefeated throughout this tournament. Philly coming level on points with Orlando in Group A with 7, only finishing second on goal differential by a single goal. So because, this tournament makes no sense, there are no rules anymore. Orlando topped that group with a positive 3 goal difference and 7 points. Sure. But Philadelphia, beating NYC, beating Miami, tying Orlando. And then obviously winning the knockout games that we've spoken about. Portland doing pretty much the same in their group. Their group obviously being a little bit more difficult than Philly's. I know Philly's kind of got shifted around a little bit when Nashville dropped out. So, Miami and Chicago and people moved around and that messed up, who was playing who. But Portland's group, so they topped it again with 7 points. LAFC, Houston, and the dumpster fire that is the Galaxy in that group. Beating Galaxy 2-1, beating Houston 2-1, and then tying LAFC 2-all. And then obviously winning the knockout groups that we've spoken about. As far as going into this game, I think this feels more like it could be a final than the other one, if that makes sense. Like I think of the 4 teams that are left, you could make the argument that these have been the 2 best teams that are left. Philly just being a solid unit, so I think the system that they employ. I think I was watching an interview that their whole game plan is basically to grind teams down. So we know we'll stay compact and basically tire you guys out, and then when that happens, we'll hit you on the counter and we'll be totally fine. Like, and it seems to be working. So who am I to say anything? Portland, I think Portland's just they know what they're doing by this point. You know, those players have been together. That core of that Portland team has been together for I don't know how long now, so they know how each other play. It's the reason they're one of the strongest teams in the league for the last couple of years. So there's no real surprise that Portland's one of the last 4 teams. I think of the 4 teams that are left, you know, if you said pick a team to make the semifinal, if you said Portland, people would be like, yeah, that probably would happen. Yeah, I mean, Connor mentioned Brendan Aronson probably on his way out. I'd imagine that happens after the tournament. So before, if any regular season stuff occurs, that'll be somewhere in there, which would be a huge loss to that midfield.
Is the transfer window open for that even to happen? I don't know how it's been shifted with the world.
I don't know. So I think the one in England goes through, I want to say like till the first week of October. It's weird now because everything's been moved around with the pandemic.
MLS announces revised 2020 transfer window. So you got a 2-day transfer window that passed in July, and then the secondary one starts on the 12th, right after the tournament, and moves into Thursday, October 29th.
Yeah, so that's a big window for teams to move around. I know Mönchengladbach in Germany was linked with him, and their sporting director said that he's a player they've been keeping their eye on. And I think he would fit in pretty well there. That's a team known for developing, you know, young players and selling them off, you know, years and years later once they've kind of matured and progressed. But in terms of this tournament, I think, you know, he'll obviously still be there for the next 2 games, if assuming they make the final. I don't know who to call for this one. I could see either one of these teams winning, and then I think the winner of this game, barring Orlando voodoo magic again, I think whoever wins this game wins the whole thing.
Bold shout.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Minnesota, so I can't realistically pick them to win the whole thing just because I haven't seen them.
They're the Loons. You can do whatever you want.
Fair. And I don't want to – I whatever. It would be the most MLS thing in the world if Orlando wins this whole thing. So I guess I'm rooting for this side of the bracket. If I have to say a score, I'm going to say Philly 2-2 and then Philly and PKs.
Interesting. My prediction is 2-2, but Portland and PKs.
I could have gone either way with that. Just because I think Andre Blake's better at saving PKs, I went with him.
Don't sleep on Steve Clark, my guy.
Dude, I'm not. I'm just saying the way Andre Blake's been in this tournament, I think he's the more on form keeper, if that makes sense. So,
yeah,
Connor,
I would say that's a question. I want to pose a question first before we get to that. If Andre Blake falls out of this MVP goalkeeper form, are Philly out?
Against Portland to me, it depends on what lineup they put out, right? If Valeri's in there to start, maybe. If he's not in there, I think they can hold off and maybe grab a lead before Valeri can come in and do something to hurt him.
I mean, he didn't start the NYC game which I think I was surprised with. But Portland still looked like they were in comfortable control over NYC. Granted, those are two vastly different teams, but I think Portland's good enough without Valeri that obviously he's a massive, missing component, and they're obviously exponentially better with him in there. But I think they're a solid enough team that, if he does come in 60 minutes into the game, that I think they can still give Philly a game.
Yeah, no, they won't roll over by any means,
Right.
but it's very clear that with Valeri in there, they are better than when Blanco runs the show on his own, because two people instead of one you got to watch. That's just me. I'm not a fan of Eric Williamson. I'm still not. He has good moments, but he's just not Valeri. That's so I think they rotated him out because of tired legs. I would put money on it that he's starting on. When do they play tomorrow? Or are they both tomorrow?
No.
Is it tomorrow and then
Tuesday?
Yeah, it's tomorrow and Tuesday. So on Monday I would predict that he's starting.
Yeah.
And then final 5 days after that, or 6 days, depending on when you played. Connor, your prediction?
I'm gonna say 2-1 Portland.
2-1 Portland. All right, these are going into the prediction tracker as we speak. Philly v. Portland. 2-2 Philly PKs. 2-1 Portland. 2-2 Portland PKs. Anything you guys want to add to that, or hold your peace forever?
Looks like the games are Wednesday and Thursday.
Are they really?
Fair.
Even better. Then I can guarantee you that he's starting.
Big guarantee.
Big guarantee. All righty. Moving into Orlando versus my Loons. I've got this one, so I'll go right ahead and get started. Orlando get here from topping Group A in the most wild fashion. Knocking off Montreal 1-0 and then beating the tournament favorites LAFC on penalties. Minnesota gets here as second in Group D, topped what I think are the second favorite team in Columbus in PKs, and running over San Jose. To me, this one's tricky, but as we mentioned before, it terrifies me that we live in a world where Orlando can win this and be our MLS rep in CONCACAF Champions League. However, Pereira's got this team moving, boys. They look like a team that are as Adam said, they don't do it pretty. They don't demolish teams, but they earn their results. They get the results that they put the work in for. We mentioned last week that there was a change in culture. You could see it. You could see that people believe in each other. They're not fighting on the field. If there's a mistake, it's hey, come on, let's get going. It's okay, we'll get it next time, instead of, oh, you suck. Why am I playing with you? I don't want to do this anymore, right? You've got players like Pereira and Nani who are stepping up and playing well in the role that they need to play in. But if you want to go even deeper in that, the home field advantage, being used to the environment versus teams that maybe aren't so comfortable, and then playing teams that aren't at home, right? They're in a new environment. They're not used to playing in where they are. There's a whole bunch of it, but Orlando are getting results, man, and it's exciting to see, right? Again, we talk about it. They have made good moves to start moving in the right direction and paying off. They're not signing random people who used to be Real Madrid starlets and failed and just are big bodies. They're going out and making the moves that they need to make this team good. On the other side, Minnesota have looked good from game one of the season, period. Amaria is exciting. They've got a defense without Iko Para that still isn't awful, which shocks me. It really does. I was so shocked to see that happen. They put in a really good shift against Columbus, and Ozzy Alonso shut down Darlington Nagbe with the help of, oh goodness, who played next to him in that game? Hassani Dotson, I think. I think Dotson was next to him, where they both just – who's that?
Yeah, he was.
It was.
Yeah.
So because I didn't catch that game either. I was at work, I think, called in, but they took the best center mid in the league, period, and made him irrelevant. And that's what they're going to have to do again in this game. So, again, it's tough for me, right? Because you got home field advantage versus a team that is clearly on paper better and better. And the other thing that's holding me up is the fact that you look at a team that just ran through San Jose, and then you remember San Jose as Daniel Vega. And it's like, would it happen again? Is Gallese better than Vega? Yes. Is he that much better? I don't know. But we're not here to talk about Vega. We did that already. Amarillo looks electric. No Ike backline looks good, but the person I'm watching, or the duo I'm watching again, is Ozzie Alonso and Dotson, or Ozzie Alonso and Hayes, or whoever that combination is in the middle. Because if you are talking about Matthias Pereira being one of the best creators for that team, you got to make him irrelevant. And you got to do what you did to Darlington Nagbe. And if they can do it, Orlando are dead in the water, right? Because at that point, your best playmaker is done and you're leaving your best scorer out on the wings for both of them. If you can't go through the middle and then wide and you're just playing down the wings, you're going to get shut down every time. And I think that's got to be the game plan going in. And for me, on the other side, for Orlando, I'm not watching players per se, but I'm watching a decision, right? What is Pareja going to do? Is he going to sit in, absorb the attack from a team that's clearly very good going forward, and try and counterattack, going to Nani and Mueller out wide, cutting it in? Is he going to try to play through them? Is he going to think that he can use Pereira's, ability in the midfield to cut through the Alonso-Dotson combo and break the line? I'm not sure. And that decision is going to be huge for Orlando. If they start playing a game that they're not comfortable with, it will crucify them. They'll be done. So is he going to be Chris Armas and make a decision in a big game that ruins them? Or is he going to avoid that critical mistake? That's what I'm watching for both teams. Prediction, 3-2 Minnesota. This one's going to be a burner.
Yeah. Thinking about it now, the way – and it's hard because this tournament, pun not intended, but is in a bubble. So, form in this tournament may not translate to regular season form. We saw teams start the two games pre-tournament really hot and then come to the bubble and look like crap.
Yep.
However, I think, and I can't think of who their goalie. Oh, it was Joe Bendik. Never mind. I was gonna say I can't think of who Orlando goalie, who their goalie was before Gallese, but I think it's similar to an NYC where their goalie was horrendous to start.
Don't disrespect Joe Bendik like that. How dare you?
No. But if you look at the NYC, so they're the obvious example. So you go from Josh Saunders, who traffic cone, to Sean Johnson, who transfer, unless he gets a big move, will be their goalie foreseeably for the next 10 years. I think that's what they finally have in this kid. I don't actually know how old he is.
Yes, it's pretty up there.
That up. I think so.
He is 30. Never mind.
Right again.
You could still get like 5 years out of him.
Yeah, no, for sure. But
all right, I figured they'd have a bit more time with them, but I think he will be their starter for a very long time until he retires.
Yeah, no question, right? You're going to go in and put as much money as you did in for him. I'm trying to find the transfer value right now. He moved on a free, but I don't know what he's getting paid, right? Right. If you're going to make that big move, right, you got to be ready for it. So, predictions on this side.
I'm going to say 3-1 Minnesota.
2-1 Orlando because of voodoo magic.
It's terrifying because I'm almost certain that's going to happen. But it's okay.
It definitely will.
All right. So
You're
that
right.
is
So before you were right, Andrew. I think I was the last one to predict the Orlando LAFC game. I think you guys had given your predictions first,
yeah.
and you both had LAFC going through. So I said, let me just chuck a flyer on Orlando because I wouldn't be surprised if they somehow pulled it off, and they did.
Absolutely unreal. But those are our predictions and our previews for these games coming up. Let us know what you think in the comments below, or email us to our email that has been used for a lot of random things lately. Somebody grabbed it and started using it for some things. That's okay. But a question posed to you guys. Out of all the teams that are out right now, who has the most trouble rebounding back into normal play? This is our question of the day. So we had 26 teams, we'll say 24 teams that truly played. 24 of them started. 20 of them are out. Of those 20 teams, who has the most difficulty getting into picking back up after this tournament? You know, who either started hot and is going to have trouble, who's going to struggle, or who struggled coming in, struggled, maybe got out of the group stage and is going to go back to struggling in regular play when they have to travel and stuff. First thought to your head, right? Don't think too much about it. Like, who stands out to you?
The obvious one is Atlanta.
Okay.
I mean,
Why?
I know they signed two strikers? They brought in Eric Torres and
they signed Eric Lopez as well.
Thank you. Yep. I mean, Joseph's obviously out for the season, and we've seen how they look this tournament without him, which is not good. So it's hard to imagine they look any different, in 2 weeks when the regular season starts. It'll take a little bit for those new strikers to get implemented into the system and get used to how everyone plays with each other. And they still have to figure out that two-man midfield because Mo Adams and Big Yef isn't the answer. As much as we love watching it, well, me and Andrew love watching it.
Yeah.
Connor maybe not so much. But I think Atlanta's going to be yeah, they're not going to rebound. I think they're going to be the team that kind of continues to maintain the struggle form.
Very interesting. Connor, your thoughts?
I don't think it'll be Atlanta. I feel like it'll be the Galaxy. I'm trying to think of like all the teams that missed out on the group stages, and I feel like most of them have like a pretty decent reasoning as to why they got bounced. I can see some for LA, but I don't see a lot of like I don't see a lot of reasons as to why they didn't perform here, other than the fact that they're just not good. I'm maybe missing Dos Santos, maybe switching the striker. But
I think that's probably the big deal for me when I look at it is, right, you have your best center mid, box to box is out, and your big name striker is no longer playing. However, I agree with you there. I think they're going to have a very difficult time because if they're both still extended out, then they're going to have issues coming back.
Yeah, which is sad. Like Dos Santos is, I think all right, maybe not the bigger miss, but probably the more important missing part in that team. I think you can get away with not having Chicharito out for longer than you have missing Dos Santos. Because that game, Andrew, remember who I'm talking about right now? The young kid who came in up top.
Zubek or
Thank you.
Yeah,
I was actually fairly impressed with him.
I liked him. I thought it was very good.
So, Chicharito's obviously, as much as I slate him, a big miss, but I was impressed enough with him that if I had to pick one of the two to not come back, it would probably be Chicharito.
He played more on the wing, but I agree. I think he filled in fine for when
Right. There are teams in this league that don't necessarily play with a true striker. You look at the LAFC team that played essentially as like a false nine half the time. Like, you could realistically do that with Pavone, Zubak, and chalk someone else up there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I've got two. First one of them is not the Red Bulls because you know how Red Bull works.
I know, I was kidding.
If it's regular season, we'll be fine. Once we get out of the regular season or into a tournament style play, that's when we have issues.
Yes.
Inter Miami FC or CF or whichever of the football acronyms you want to use in a league that is called Major League Soccer has played 5 games, 1-0, scored 3 goals, and let up 8. Excuse me. For a team to get out of a rut like that, you need to play through it. You cannot play 2 games, take a break, play 3 more games, take a break, because over those long times that you have breaks, people change, play styles change, people get rusty, people shake rust off. A lot of things change when you're not watching. They are going to need to get another 5 games under their belt before they start realizing, okay, this is where our issue is. This is where we need to make changes. I think their back line help is going to be good, but again, that's going to take time to make them gel with everybody, right? I think Miami's going to have a pretty difficult time to come back. And I know that they've got all these signings coming in and these players coming in, but it takes time to gel, right? And like I mentioned, when you're down for so long and you're not playing, it's difficult to find where your issues lie.
Yeah, and we can go into this for another hour, but I don't think, and this sounds terrible, but I don't think Miami were trying to win this tournament. I think they used the 3 group stage games to basically say, let's try some things out. Let's see how people look in different positions. Let's try some different lineups. We're 0-5. I haven't seen anyone call for the manager's head. Like, everyone understands that we're an
I've seen tons of people call for it, and then everybody says, okay, you guys are stupid.
So, right. I say, you don't see, like, serious claims for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we get it. We're an expansion team. It takes time in this league to gel. Very rarely do you come in like an LAFC or an Atlanta and just guns blazing, let's go win the Supporter Shield in our first season. Most teams, when they first come in, struggle a little bit. It's natural. I think they've done a better job than some of the others in the past in building a good roster. The 2 defensive signings that will come in, I think, are, well, one's massive, one's, I don't actually know how well he's going to play, but I think LGP back there is a huge difference. So we'll see. It's just, finding those 1 or 2 now missing pieces as you try to build. So I'm not super worried about them.
So the fact that they're still missing those 1 or 2 pieces and they don't know exactly where it is the exact reason I say.
I think they know where they are. I think they just don't know who they're bringing in to fix it. Like,
and that's my point, right? They're going to have to try different people in there to fix it, because right. I guarantee you David Beckham isn't going to accept 0 points throughout an entire season. If he does, and it won't happen. It won't. But worst case scenario, right? You can't figure out what the missing piece is. You lose every game this season.
Right.
It's unacceptable.
Right.
And that's what I mean when you can't figure it out. You got to figure it out quickly. My other team is DC United, because DC United run under Ben Olsen, and I think Ben Olsen is psychotic. But no, I think DC United are just a team that nobody knows which direction they're going. Where do they want this team to be? Where do they want this team to go? What do they want it to look like? I don't know. I'm more worried about Inter Miami than DC. Man, DC are just they're a team, man. They're a team. They exist. Ben Olsen is their coach. These are facts about DC United. But that's it.
They have a lot of good players. They just need to get the right coach and come up with a plan.
They need to start playing Julian Gressel at striker.
Stop it.
That's kind of the answer.
That's it. Wrap up the show. It's over.
That's it for us, guys. If you agree that Julian Gressel should be playing striker for DC United, leave us a like. If you disagree, share this with your friends so they can also agree or disagree. No, that's it. Thanks, guys, for watching. Probably a shorter one today, I think. Yeah, kind of, sort of. Short enough. Make sure you follow us on all forms of social media. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, where we post all of our clips. Make sure you follow us wherever you get your podcast so you can get an automatic download as soon as we post it. You can listen as soon as it goes out. And make sure you go ahead, and if you watch to this point, I'm going to use Quincy's tactic here. If you watch this point, shoot us a tweet with that says Julian Gressel should or shouldn't play striker. If you've gotten to this far, tweet at us. Let us know. We'd love to hear who's getting this far. So shoot us a tweet and let us know you got this far. But other than that, lads, you got anything else to say that doesn't revolve around Julian Gressel playing striker?
Please, Minnesota. Please stop Orlando.
Please. I think they would do the entire league a favor at that point.
I'm pretty okay with everyone winning except Orlando.
I kind of almost want to see Orlando win for the band.
Oh, I will be totally okay with Orlando winning because it's the most MLS thing that can happen. But of the 4 teams that are left, I want them to win the least.
Will you put them on a hype train in CCL next year? I think Adam should lead the Orlando hype train for CCL next year.
You know what an Orlando hype train would look like if in CCL? Because they'll probably get matched up against like Leon or Tigres. Yeah, literally one of those like old cartoons where you see the train and it just goes off the cliff and straight down.
Yeah. All right, that's what we're doing. If you've made it to this point, tweet us Orlando hype train. That's what we're tweeting. Orlando hype train 2021.
Hashtag Orlando hype train.
Tag it up. Guys, thank you so much for making it this far. Like I said, follow us everywhere you get your podcast. Follow us on all forms of social media. This has been another episode of Designated Players Podcast, and we will see you on the next one. See ya.